Man, we're going to have a lot of fun tonight in Vancouver, all my real fans.
The following is a hockey podcast out of Vancouver and Surrey, British Columbia. It'll only consist of a lot of puck talk and even more BS, or in actual words, banter and satire. Enjoy, and as always, go Canucks go.
Trevor Beggs, the darkest guy on the program. Do you remember a couple months ago, maybe 10 months ago, you said that the Canucks had to trade JT Miller to Pittsburgh, okay? You remember that? You remember that? You phony?
Come on, Kyle. Do you remember when our girls left us for other girls? But it's all good, baby, because we got this right here. Locked On Canucks.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey, welcome to another episode of Locked On Canucks. My name is Trevor Beggs, co-host of Locked On Canucks, and also a part-time credentialed media member for Daily Hive Vancouver. Before we dive into this episode, we got to thank you for tuning in to Locked On Canucks. It is your Canucks every damn day, even on a sunny Sunday, baby. Make sure, again, if you haven't done so already, make sure you go subscribe or follow us for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. And I got to say, it hasn't felt this good to be a Vancouver Canucks fan in a long time, okay? Life is good for the Vancouver Canucks, and guess what? Life is good for Dakota Joshua. Life is good for JT Miller. Life is good for the D. Life is good if you're a fan of the Vancouver Canucks. We're going to talk about it all here on a sunny Sunday, drink in hand. Before we get into it, let me introduce my co-host, Flex Bowen. Got the guns out here for the YouTube viewers. What's going on, buddy? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. And yeah, if you're new to the program, me and Trevor became friends, I don't know, like 13 years ago. And back in the day, both of us had girlfriends, and they both left us for girls right around the same time. Hey, look at us now, man. We're talking about the Vancouver Canucks, live with the people, man. We're living the dream. Redemption story. Hey, speaking of redemption story, JT Miller is everyone's favorite Vancouver Canuck. Straight up. Who else is getting a chance like that? Not even Quinn Hughes. That's just the truth. Real talking, Quinn Hughes is quite honestly having one of, if not the best regular season in Canucks history. But there's JT Miller getting all the love. It's something else, man. And I knew it. Yes, I knew it. This Hindu knew it all along, that this guy was going to be one of the biggest pieces of the puzzle when all of this was going to turn around. And it is really, really surprising to see guys like Trevor Beggs and the rest of Canucks Nation understanding why I believe that. Now, before we get into that, let's talk about the big news, okay? Dakota Joshua back at practice, boom, bam, wearing the red jersey, non-contact jersey. Rick Tocchet asked about Dakota Joshua last night. He gave some positive reviews, right? He didn't say there was a setback. He pretty much said they're taking their time, not rushing, bringing back an important piece of the puzzle when the team doesn't really need that many points to lock up what they need to lock up, blah, blah, blah. But he did mention that he was skating a lot. He was power skating a lot. And now, again, he's back at practice wearing a non-contact jersey. Beggsy, how you feeling?
I'm feeling fantastic, man. It was great being in the booth last night, seeing the game live, watching Nils Höglander do his thing. But in terms of Dakota Joshua, I got to say, it hasn't felt like 6 weeks. Like Rick Tocchet dropped that last night, that he's been out for 6 weeks now. And I was like, damn, I kind of thought it'd only been like a month, But it's been quite some time, right? And the Canucks have been through a bit of a roller coaster since he left the lineup, right? He leaves initially, they lose 6 of 7, and then all of a sudden they're 3-1-1 since Smith took over, but they also had the 4-game winning streak in there as well. So it has been a roller coaster for this team. We've seen them play their worst hockey and their best hockey without Dakota Joshua in the lineup. But let's make no mistake, this team is better with Dakota Joshua in the lineup. And it's interesting. I saw another line combination today that got me thinking. Okay, and I'll shout out. I think it was Gman88 on Twitter, and it was something along the lines of his boldest take was Höglander, Pettersson, Podkolzin on the top line, then Miller, Besser, Suter. And then have your Joshua Blueger Garland line. And then on the fourth line, you have Mikheyev, Lindholm, and Lafferty. And I kind of looked at that, and it's like Lindholm on the fourth line, but that's a deep lineup, man. That's a deep lineup.
Isn't. Colton has one assist.
Ice time last night, okay? No, look at the ice time in last night's game.
Come on, man.
There was 3 lines that played the exact same amount of ice time line. The Lindholm line, the Miller line, the Pettersson line. They all had around 15, 16 minutes last night. That has not happened often in Vancouver. Usually it's been riding the Stars. Tocchet really likes Lindholm, and I know he's going through stuff right now, but I do think Tocchet is warming up more and more to the idea that he can just roll any line out there at any time. And with Dakota
Yeah.
Joshua back, if he keeps going like this, he might be onto something, man, honestly.
Dude, come on, man. You want Podkolzin on the top line going into a playoff series against the Las Vegas Golden Knights? Or the LA Kings? Relax, man. What are you on, Trevor? We talked about it last night, okay? I'm not going to tell the people what you want, okay? I know what you're on. But come on, Begsy. No, man. Okay, so Lindholm as a fourth line center. How did he even get here when we're bringing up Dakota Joshua? You are clearly the darkest guy in the program.
I'm thinking about the lineup when Dakota Joshua gets back, and we talked about it before, but I just got thinking this morning, man. I got thinking this morning, you know? And Tocchet likes those forward duos, you know? So to me, based on that logic, it could make some sense.
I think there's something there between Mikheyev, Besser, and Miller. I really do. I know we've barely seen it over the last 2 games, but I think they're going to go back to that. I think Pius Suter is the perfect. Oh, what's that term? Like the 7th forward. You could use him as a 7th forward, aka you can use him in the bottom 6. And if things aren't really doing much, or things aren't really positive in the top 6, you can plug him in. Blah blah blah. I think when it's all said and done, you want to set up your lineup. Bro, you cannot have Lindholm as your fourth line player. You can't. You gave up 18 assets for Elias Lindholm, okay? You got to give him another shot. And
It's not about that, though, man. It's about what gives you the best chance of winning. I don't know. I'm not sure if it's the perfect strategy, but I see the logic in it. And Lindholm had another good game last night, and I know he's playing.
You're facing Calgary. You're facing effing Calgary, man. I'm not. Okay, you know what? Let's see how they do tomorrow. You know what? You want to use Elias Lindholm as a fourth line center or a bottom 6 center? Let's see how they do against LA tomorrow. And if Joshua is not back by the Dallas Stars game on Thursday, let's see it again. Okay, Begsy, what are you putting into my mind, bro? Because Elias Lindholm as a fourth line center.
But think of it this way. I honestly, I don't even see it as Elias Lindholm as a fourth line center because, again, look at the ice time from last night. Miller, Pettersson, and Lindholm all played within a minute of each other throughout last night's action. Lindholm, I think Tocchet in his perfect world wants to roll those lines out evenly.
Oh.
And then once you get Blueger, Joshua, Garland back in the lineup, like that is an interesting mix, man. Like Tocchet's going to feel like he has limitless options if he rolls with those 3 down the middle and then Joshua, Blueger, Garland.
I'd rather this team. I feel like slapping you, man, across the screen, man. I would much rather see a team even out the minutes throughout 3 lines as opposed to 4. Okay, because you know why?
Okay.
I definitely want to see Elias Pettersson and JT Miller play 3 or 4 minutes more than some of these other guys on the team going into the playoffs. Okay, Begsy? Bro, you trust Lafferty a lot, man. What happened? What happened yesterday? Did he give you a stick? Did he sign a stick for you or something like that?
Yeah, actually, Lafferty knows my wife's uncle, so that's the reason why. But no, I think honestly, when you get to the playoffs, there's going to be nights where Pettersson and Miller are going to have to play 20+ minutes. That's inevitable.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think in Tocchet's perfect world, if everyone's rolling, he wants to play everyone evenly. And I'll ask you, Kyle, like, how do you see it playing out when Joshua comes back? He's pretty close, right? 6 weeks away, now practicing. Yeah. Joshua is close to returning. Do you think Lindholm's going to go automatically up to the top 6? Or do you think that he's going to keep rolling those 3 centers and then go Joshua, Blueger, Garland?
I think what he's going to do is use the remaining regular season games or some of those games to A, experiment, and B, give Lindholm another chance in the top 6. Bro, come on, man. How do you motivate a guy like Elias Lindholm to transform into another type of player and have him be content with playing with like Niels Amon and Podkolzin? He was playing with those guys last night. Don't you want the best out of Elias Lindholm? Isn't getting the best out of him offensively the ultimate piece that throws this team over the top? Because I've talked about this many times, especially last night. The Canucks all around have played a well-structured game over 10 games. So Trevor Beggs, with the fact this guy asked Rick Tocchet a great question. He brought up the fact that the Canucks are first place in the league when it comes to shots against, or the least amount of shots against per game since the All-Star break. Okay, I think the Vancouver Canucks are gearing up to play that playoff hockey, but I feel as if they want to go over the top and pretty much triumph over the lack of experience, they're going to need a little bit more offensive flair to be this ultimate sexy type of team, okay? And for them to get there, I think Lindholm is that missing piece, and sticking him into a position to be like a defensive wizard it's cool, but can't I ask Pius Suter to do the same thing? it's. I gotta warm up to it now. Trevor, can you do some research for me? Can you name the 4 centers for Colorado, Tampa Bay, and Las Vegas? Can you do that for me? Like, can you go on Google and just do that maybe after the break and whatnot? Because that will kind of warm me up to what you're saying. Because I'm just a Hindu, okay? I'm just a Hindu that hasn't watched a lot of hockey over the last couple of years because the Canucks have sucked, and I get turned off. Dude, I'm a loyal guy. As soon as the Canucks are out of it, I'm not watching hockey. I got books to read, okay? You know what I'm saying? I'm loyal. So maybe I'm just in need of some of your knowledge on this subject and some of the the examples that led to success for those teams for me to kind of be like, okay, you know what? Never mind. Let's have let's have a Lafferty, Lindholm, and Mikheyev be a thing.
Yeah, and I think Vegas still has it now, right? Like Vegas' centers down the middle are the same for when they won the cup. It's Eichel, it's Stevenson, it's Carlson, and it's Waugh, and that is a crazy, quartet of centers to roll down the middle of the ice. And again, Tocchet's talked about last season how he loves the Vegas defense, and then guess what? The Canucks beef up their defense just like Vegas kind of has, right? And now he's trying to roll fuller centers just like Vegas did last year when they went on to win the Stanley Cup. So, the NHL is a copycat league, and I do think Tocchet, really likes what he saw in Vegas, and I think he kind of wants to roll something similar out for the Canucks in the playoffs because the team, they're looking kind of similar, man, and even more so now, I think, in the sense that they are not allowing many shots in the slot. Like that's what Vegas has been so good at, right? Since they came into the league, relentless on the puck, and the defensive zone, they're aggressive. They don't give a lot of in the middle, and the Canucks are starting to play the exact same way. And with the star power they have, might even be better than Vegas, man.
The sun is shining, baby. Maybe even better than Vegas. I like it, man. West Coast
Honestly,
vibes.
Canucks Vegas in round 1. I've warmed up to it, man. It's one I want to see now.
Okay, again, we're about to go to break. Blah blah blah. Let's end this segment on this note, okay? Before Trevor does the research. You're a Canucks fan, okay? The Canucks have been first place for the majority of the season. Please do not be spending your time praying at night that we get Minnesota, okay? Or the Blues. Don't do that. Bring on anyone. Even the Vegas Golden Knights. For real, the Canucks are playing well defensively. They have a crop of really good players. If we have to play Vegas in round 1 and we get through that experience, speaking of experience, I feel like, again, that adds to the equation when us getting to June without prior playoff experience. Okay, I'll say it again. If we beat Vegas in round 1, think about that momentum. For real. Bring on anyone. Don't be scared. Kyle Bound, Trevor Beggs, Locked On Canucks. Beggsy, again, Sunday episode, bonus episode. Do we have to give anyone a shout out? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah, I think there's a couple sponsors that we do.
Okay.
We'd love to shout out. Okay,
One love.
I will say quickly too. I don't think Minnesota and St. Louis are options, right? We'll talk about it on the other side because I think the most likely candidates for the Canucks in the playoffs right now are Vegas, the LA Kings, and the Nashville Predators. Okay, those are the 3 most likely opponents right now. It's probably going to be one of those 3 at this point. So let's talk about that on the other side. Let's talk about Miller, who has completely completed the redemption story here in Vancouver. And of course, before we get out of here, we got to touch on the D, okay?
Ooh, why you want to touch that D all the time, Trevor? Trevor always loves touching the D.
On the other side here on a Sunday, Locked On Canucks, your team every day. Let's shout out 2 sponsors here. We got Sleeper and Gametime. Okay, guess what? After that win last night, your Vancouver Canucks are the best team in the NHL again, okay? Entered Sunday morning with 96 points, or 98 points, my bad, tops in the NHL. Anyways, guess what? If you want to be the best, just like the Vancouver Canucks, make sure you go play daily fantasy hockey on Sleeper, the daily fantasy app of the Locked On NHL Network. Sleeper is my number 1 choice for daily fantasy sports, and especially daily fantasy hockey, because with Sleeper, you could win 100 times your cash in daily fantasy hockey contests. All you have to do is pick whether studs like Dakota Joshua, Quinn Hughes, or JT Miller will record more or less in their Sleeper projections for things like goals, assists, saves, plus, minus, and more in a given game. To win a 100 times bet on Sleeper, you need to correctly predict the outcome of 8 player stats. You heard me, Canucks fans. You can win 100 times your money playing daily fantasy hockey with Sleeper, so start paying attention and nail your picks so you can start winning big. Use promo code LOCKEDONNHL and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL. See Sleeper's terms of use for details and locational availability. All right, our friends over at Gametime, they always hook me up. They make me feel good. You know why? Because I'm cheap, man. I'm cheap. And I don't want to be paid an extravagant amount of money for tickets. And with Game Time, again, they got the lowest price guarantee, baby, okay? The lowest price guarantee. You got to love it, man. So Game Time, they're the place to go. And you know what? I never forget about them because Nicole at Game Time always teasing me with, updates on Canucks tickets, other concert events this week in the area, okay? Because I like music too, man. I'm bumping some stuff right now. But so they got everything, man. Concerts, Canucks tickets, football, everything, man. Okay, so make sure you go to
Nelly
Game Time.
Nelly Furtado.
Nelly
Junos,
Furtado. Is she on tour?
No, she's hosting the Junos, man. Come on, man.
Oh yeah, of course. Okay. Nelly Furtado. She's Kyle admitted to me last night. It's his favorite artist of all time. So if Nelly Furtado's in town, you would use Game Time to get those tickets. Okay, so make sure you go download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
People, we back doing our thing, talking about the Canucks. Kyle Bound, Trevor Beggs, the homies, the brothers who saw each other last night. And you know what? There's another homie who joined us last night, and I got to give this guy a round of applause. I'm not going to say his name because, he's a secret agent, okay? We got to protect this guy. But Trevor Beggs, once again, proving that you quite honestly have the best friends of all time, me excluded from that list. This is the guy that you brought to my crib. And if you could describe your friend in 3 words, how would you describe, again, one of the greatest people of all time?
I would describe him as chiseled, thoughtful, and goofy.
Wow, dude, come on. Why are you getting romantic with it, man?
He's my brother, man.
There you go, man. Hey, speaking of our brothers and sisters, let's go to the comments, okay? Just for a bit before we talk about JT Miller, all right? Because the comments, kind of going off, especially surrounding, our guy, JT Miller. There's Lefty, man. Lefty said something about how JT Miller is probably his all-time, all-around favorite Canuck. Okay. But he also said this, okay? And this is, again, something that I brought up at the beginning of the episode, okay? Lefty also said, but if I had to choose one Canuck overall to start a team, it would be Quinn Hughes. Obviously, right? And he also added, with serious consideration, Pavel Bure, okay? Again, Quinn Hughes, honestly, again, I'm not joking when I say he's putting up the greatest regular season in Canucks history. He's a defenseman, okay? In year 6, is the math correct? This guy's compared to who? Bobby Orr. Somewhat, okay? Look at the stats. He's doing his thing, but Quinn Hughes is not a player that gets his name shouted out by the fans the way JT Miller does. I'm not trying to create a dividance. I'm not really trying to do that. All I'm trying to say is this. I am more than amazed, more than astonished that JT Miller somehow has found his way into all of the hearts of Vancouver Canucks fans. And he is the one being, treated like a god in the city. It's a beautiful thing because his redemption tour in most eyes wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, and it's funny to see the old takes kind of flying around last night where, guys wanted this guy traded for a 7th-round pick. Get off that contract. Trade him. You got to get out of that contract now before he gets too old and too slow. And what has this guy done? He's 10th overall in the NHL in points, man. He's leading the Canucks in points. He's on pace for an 104-point season, man. Ooh. That would be a career high. And, I think one of the craziest stats, too, are after hitting 90 points last night, he's only the 4th Canuck ever to, hit 90 points in the season on multiple occasions. And the other 3 guys that did it, all of the names are hanging in the rafters, okay? It's Henrik Sedin, it's Pavel Bure, and it's Marcus Nazzal. Now, Elias Pettersson's going to get there pretty soon. He's at 84 points right now. So he's going to get there before the end of the season and become the 5th guy to do it. But, pretty incredible stuff, man. And again, if this team can go all the way, you look what Miller's done, what Pettersson's done. Like, these are guys who are, honestly, 2 of the best players in franchise history right now. And, one other thing that we're going to see here, Kyle, Pettersson's at 84 points, Hughes is at 80 points. If all 3 of those guys hit 90 points, it would be the first time in Canucks history that they will have 3 guys on this team that all hit 90 points in a season.
And keep in mind, if Rick Tocchet wasn't effing around, pardon my language, and experimenting so much with the power play for like 20 games, all those guys would have a way better chance at reaching 100 points. Straight up. Because him moving Miller from the left side to the right side for that long is definitely one of the most confusing parts of the season. But again, the Canucks had a lead in the standings, and the hockey nerd and Rick Tocchet was, nerding out. Where am I going with this? Yo, JT Miller, again, has a chance via a long playoff run to be one of the faces of hockey. He does. Look at him. Look how he looks. Look how he plays. Look at his attitude. Look how humble he is. Look how much of a POS he is as well. Straight up, look at his quotes after games. Look at the matchups. They get through round 1 in Vegas. It's going to go 6-7 games. JT Miller's going to be heroic. Boom. Gets that clout. Round 2 against the Oilers. McDavid versus JT Miller. And that kind of gets me to this question, because we did not know that this was going to happen. But in September, I'm talking about Elias Pettersson being McDavid's number 1 enemy because of the matchup. The games played in the regular season and the potential matchups in the playoffs. Well, I was so wrong, because how the beep did JT Miller become a shutdown type of player or being used as one? Like, how did that happen? It's definitely a part of this redemption tour that he's on, because a big reason, contract aside, why people did not like JT Miller was because there was this one-way ability to him that was pretty clear.
Yeah. Again, JT Miller came into this market as a winger, right? And, got so much heat for, this guy can't play center. And, in fairness, there were some pretty rough times when he was at the center ice position. But, the transformation from this guy being, a really good winger to, a center, and a guy that, had his flaws at center, even though he put up points, and everyone wanted him traded. We thought for like 18 months, 2 years in this market that this guy might be traded. It doesn't make sense to keep this guy around. He's older than the core, blah, blah, blah. And again, I think probably 80% of this market or more thought this guy was going to be traded. That's just what everyone kind of assumed was going to happen.
I didn't.
Except for you. You were in the 20%, man. You were in the 20%.
Exactly,
and I got to give you credit for that. Yeah. And
why would you trade one of the best players in hockey?
History.
Sorry, what did you say? He stuck around and the rest was history?
Yeah.
Is that what you said? Yo, JT Miller's just been making history, okay? Prior to this year, he was one of the top players within this team's history when it comes to points per game. And JT Miller, for the most part, has played on some chaotic, garbage-like hockey teams, okay? Yeah, he was doing all that. Yo, again, going back to how he's become so much of a different player in his 30s, in his early 30s, giving guys like Trevor and I some faith that there's another life here in your 30s, There's a new peak to reach. The fact that he's been able to change so much is A, phenomenal, and B, so much to do with Rick Tocchet. And I want to ask you this, you spent some time with Rick Tocchet. You've probably done your research too. Isn't he the biggest reason why JT Miller is, again, this guy for Canucks Nation, a fan favorite? Because Rick Tocchet, JT Miller, the combination makes sense, and it's been so splendid, and you can see the similarities in not just the way they play, but the way they appreciate and approach the game.
Honestly, I think there's a lot of similarities between Tocchet and Miller. I do think, and you might have heard this before, Kyle, and I do think that Tocchet sees some of like Miller in himself. You know what I mean? I think there's similarities between the two guys. And, you look at Tocchet, and he was a great goal scorer, but he was a great 200-foot player as well. And I do think he's been able to, pass some of that magic off to JT Miller. And, coming into the season, we all thought it was going to be Pettersson that's going to be in the running for the Selke. And, this guy could be the next Datsuk. And what's happened this season? It's been JT Miller who's been the shutdown guy against all odds, because that was a role he sucked in last season. And I know chaotic year, lots of stuff happened. But, I mean, his defensive turnaround is just one of the most incredible things about this as well. But, again, we got an 100-point player, a guy who's had his name yelled. That was a thunderous chant last night. At the game for JT Miller after that power play goal, and he's deserved it, man. I mean, again, it's crazy looking at this Canucks season, because I think him and Hughes both have a strong case to be MVP of this team and two of the best players in the NHL. But the fact that the Canucks got a couple guys like that is unreal, and gives me optimism heading into the spring here with the sun shining, okay, with the weather warming up, that the Canucks are gonna do some damage in the playoffs. I do want to touch quickly as well on, the matchups, right? I think we said coming into this segment, Vegas, LA, and Nashville are the three teams the Canucks are most likely to play. I said it already, man. Give me Vegas, okay? I think Nashville probably gives the Canucks the best shot of winning, but give me Vegas, okay? Give me
Mhm.
give me the story. I almost swore there, man. I'm fired up, but
Yeah,
give me
exactly, dude.
Vegas. And I'm telling you, man, my dream right now for the Canucks, if the Canucks can go all the way, here's the craziest possible story for me would be
Say it. Say
Vegas
it.
in round 1,
Yeah.
Edmonton round 2,
Yeah.
Colorado round 3, Boston round 4.
Why
Let's
not?
go.
Why not, dude? Why not?
That
This
would be the
season was
craziest
not
story.
supposed to happen, bro. Let's do it to that extent where we just knock down every bridge, okay? The Vancouver Canucks are in rare territory, okay? A first place team that quite possibly is still the Cinderella story, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're going to be not picked a lot in that Vegas Vancouver round 1 series. It's just the truth. I would say 80% of the NHL pundits are going to pick Vegas because they're going to get healthy, and there's still 10 games left in the season. You know, the Golden Knights in their last 7 games can go 5-2. You know what I'm saying? And then they're the Golden Knights. The Canucks, man, still a Cinderella team, and I want that type of story. Okay, when I watch the documentary and watch the replay of how this all happened, how the Vancouver Canucks won the Stanley Cup out of nowhere, you best believe I want to see them face the best teams. Because again, I think that is probably one of the few ways outside of maybe Lindholm exceeding expectations out of nowhere where this team can ignore / run away / succeed over not having a lot of playoff experience. And that's, again, winning against some of the best teams. That just feeds the ego, feeds the spirit, feeds the belief, and I'm ready for it, man. I believe in this team, man. I believe in this team. I think that the Canucks are playing some of their best hockey of the season in other ways, in like this non-sexy way. But I do believe that this team is honestly twice as good as they're playing if they can unlock this other gear. And if they can unlock that other gear, bro, the Canucks are the best team in hockey. Wow. There you, Trevor Beggs, I love you, man. Look at that logo. Look at my logo. My logo is Hindu Fijian. Okay? But in my heart, there's an orca there, okay? I love you, Trevor. I love all the fans watching this too, man. Go Canucks, go.
Go Canucks, go. And you make a point about the story, man. 2011 wasn't quite as poetic as a potential Vegas, Edmonton, Colorado, Boston run. I mean, that would be effing insane. But 2011 had the story as well, man. I think that's why we all remember it, right? Chicago was the big matchup, but getting over Chicago, like having to go through Chicago in round 1 and getting over them the way they did, like that. Those are the things that you remember when you watch sports, and especially when your team is on the right side of it. But those are the moments and memories that you will always remember in sports. And yeah, let's see if the Canucks can do something similar here going into April, May, and June, man. I'm excited
Read
for
this
this team.
comment. Read this comment right here, man. Look at Mike L, man. This guy's about to be Mike W, if you know what I'm saying.
Oh man. Damn, buddy.
Oh.
So yeah, Mike saying in the comments, again, thanks for commenting, Mike, on the YouTube live. I bet on the Canucks at plus 5,500 odds. I'll make 10K if they win. Mike, good for you, buddy. And our fans, our friends over at FanDuel who sponsor the show have been disrespecting the Canucks for the while. They've had about like the 10th. They only have the 10th best cup odds right now. They were at 12th even when they were leading the league earlier this season. But even then, they were at like kind of plus 1,800, plus 2,200 odds. I mean, Mike must have bet before the season started when most prognosticators were predicting that the Vancouver Canucks were going to miss the playoffs, okay? That's how far this team has come. They are first overall in the NHL right now. And coming into this season, I would say about 60% of, models and prognosticators, picked the Canucks to miss the playoffs. They were a long shot to make the playoffs. I know, Kyle, you and I believe they're a playoff team, not to this extent, but this is a team that has gone from, mostly an afterthought to one of the best teams in the NHL. And again, it all just adds to this crazy story. And yeah, man, let's continue this into June, man, here on Locked On Canucks. Let's go.
Let's do it, man. On that note, hit the like button, subscribe. It helps us out a lot. We're going to be here till June. Speaking of June, look at David's comment, okay? Beating the defending Stanley Cup champions. Vegas will instill a lot of confidence in the team and thus making them feel like they can beat anyone. It's the truth. And the Canucks, again, they're going to need a lot of these like invisible intangibles to go on this Cinderella run because this team does lack a lot of that playoff experience. Like the resiliency is going to be different. The adversity is going to be different. You know what I'm saying? It's like stuff this core hasn't gone through together through these like emotional times. Maybe again, Adam Foote, a guy that we barely talk about. that also adds a lot of championship pedigree to this organization. Maybe them in the locker room will be able to, overcome what comes in the playoffs. Okay, a couple minutes left in the show. I do want to ask Trevor this question, right? We don't have to run any more ads, right? We're good? A couple.
No, we're good. We're
Okay,
good.
cool.
We're good. We're
Okay,
good.
so you wanted to talk about the D, okay? Begsy loves talking about the D.
Ooh.
He loves talking about that
Mm.
D. All 6-7. Yeah, 6-7 defensemen on this team. And yeah, man, I want to bring this up. Okay, so Noah Juleson against Surrey guy, Abbotsford led. A guy that we talked about a lot this season. Okay, in the beginning of the season, bro. Again, I'm driving him to the Abbotsford airport. Straight up, straight. That's how mad I am. Okay, I'm irrational. I'm driving him to the airport when all I have to do is drive him to the rink. And here we are, all these games later, and he's looking like not just a top 6 defenseman, but a bit of an outlier. And I bring that up because of his physicality. Okay, is there enough in Noah Juleson's ability to lay the body to have him in the lineup round 1, game 1 over a guy like Ian Cole or Tyler Myers? I don't think so, but I'm gonna bring that out to you. Okay, again, you were in the sky last night in Rogers Arena. I know they just played Calgary. Calgary's Calgary. Is there any chance that this guy cracks round 1, game 1?
I think there's a chance because, when I watched Noah Juleson last night, I think one of the things he does well, and granted, a lot of the Canucks defense are doing it well right now, and there's so few mistakes on the defense. Like that D, 1 through 6. The whole package, it's solid, man. That whole package is solid, and Noah Juleson's a part of it. But even last night, watching from up above, this guy is breaking up passes, doing what Tocchet said he likes his team doing, and it's just not really allowing any shots in the middle. I noticed Juleson a couple times last night, breaking up passes and attempts that were going towards the goaltender or the middle of the ice. And this guy's got a good stick. He's always in good position. This guy can play playoff hockey games. So I think the Canucks are lucky right now that all 7 guys seem to be going, right? And the debate is kind of, Tyler Myers, Ian Cole, Noah Juleson for guys who'd be out of the lineup. I think Soucy, Zadorov, Hughes, and Hronik are kind of your 4 best right now. We talked about that earlier this week. You want to hear more D talk? Again, go check out Locked On Canucks on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts, okay? Because we've talked about this D. And, I actually want to bring up one comment as well from David David Nguyen, 20. He asked us, who are your dark horses for the team, heading into the playoffs? I think it's going to be, he thinks it's going to be Garland Höglander, and that Garland reminds him of Jonathan Mustard Salt, a.k.a. March or so. For me, like going back to the defense, I think Zadorov's the X factor because to me, he's such a boomer bust player. And, you saw it last night. He's still jumping up in the rush. He's, making a couple thunderous hits every night right now. I mean, to me, Zadorov in the playoffs is a huge X factor. To me, Höglander's almost not an X factor because he's playing top line with Pettersson. He's just been so good. But to me, Zadorov is the number 1 X factor for this team heading into the postseason.
Yeah, so many bright spots for this team over this 10-game stretch. And I think a big reason why I'm not like completely satisfied is because the majority of the credit does go to the defense and some of the the outlier / special components of this team lie in the hands of guys like Quinn Hughes and Miller and Pettersson. So again, that's kind of like where it's hard for me to like justify if I believe that this team is winning in the way that they should be winning. All that being said, so much credit has to go again to the structure and the defensive accountability that those 7 guys are honing into every night because it's making us a way better team. It's raising the floor. It's giving us an identity, man. It really is. It really is. And it's surprising to see how this team has been A, resilient, and B, able to do so on the fly and adapt and change the way they're finding success in hockey games, especially with Casey DeSmith as their goaltender. Yo, Trevor, can I give you some advice going into the week, man? I think you need to write an article for Daily Hive and break down how crazy it was. Again, Mike L with the comment, how crazy it's been that Alvin and JR did it this way, and that's fixed the defenseman overall, all the names, literally all the names. Look at who was there last year or even 2 years ago, and look who's there now. It's crazy. It's remarkable. It really is. It really is. You should write about it, and you should call it, man. You should call it this, okay? How the Canucks fixed their team by taking in good D every night.
Jesus Christ, man.
Or,
Time
no,
to write a romance novel.
No, Canucks fans' lives are changed because they've been having good D every night.
That
That's
certainly
the article
helps.
name. There you go.
That certainly helps, man. Damn. Okay. Thanks for the pro tip, man. I appreciate
There
it.
you go.
I'm gonna bring up one more comment from Mike before we
Okay,
get
do
out
it.
of here
Bring
because
it.
this
Bring
one
it.
caught my attention as well.
Oh,
Shout out
sorry.
to everyone commenting, listening. Mike Laval says, Höglander reminds me of Marty St. Louis. I think he could be a 35 goal, 90-point player, ninth in the league in 5-on-5 goals and 371st in ice time. Those are all
Holy.
true statistics there from Mike. Now, that's interesting to me because I'm just feeling it okay on a sunny Sunday. Martin St. Louis was a late bloomer, right? This guy didn't hit, really hit off in the NHL and become a superstar until the latter half of his 20s, right? So I'm throwing that energy out there. Höglander, man, looking so good last night, so sharp. He's such a great goal scorer. I think if he got more power play time, he could be, even piling it or adding to those stats even more. And this guy is a fairly young guy in the NHL, just turned 23. If he can add playmaking to his game. Again, I don't think he's gonna be as good of a playmaker as St. Louis. I'll put that out there right now. But I like the energy. Okay, on a Sunday, let's go. The Vancouver Canucks got Zadorov is an X factor. Höglander is a top liner with more to give. 4 superstars on the team. Let's go, baby.
We're beating Vegas, the Oilers, the Colorado Avalanche in Boston. We're going on a Los Angeles Kings-esque run. We're gonna be like, what's the number? 16-4 in the playoffs. Honestly, why not, man? Okay, dream big. Be delusional, straight up, and be delusional over here. It's a safe place to be delusional here, okay? It's home of the West Coast bias. Nobody else matters but the Canucks fans. Again, it's your Canucks every day when Begsy and I get together. So much to talk about, but we're going to save the rest for the rest of the week. This was a little bonus episode. We're having some fun. One love to you and you and you and you. It would help us out a lot if you hit the like button and subscribe to the show. Again, every time you like an episode and those likes add up, me and Trevor get closer and closer to taking our girlfriends on double dates. And you know what, Trevor? We started off the show by talking about how our girlfriends left us for other girls way back in the day. And we were heartbroken. We were lost. Okay, I think you went to Thailand for a couple years. I went to Burnaby, okay? I went to Burnaby. And again, like for us to get together in our friendship to take the next step in our relationship via the Vancouver Canucks, it would be only fitting if, again, we could establish some more double dates in our lives with our loves of our lives. And again, the likes get us there, man. It leads us to Cactus Club and some double dates. So hit the like button. Go Canucks, go. Discord link in the bio. We're always talking there, especially when you're on the toilet. It's a good place to chat up with other Canucks fans. Again, that link is in the bio. Begsy, sign us out.
Hey, shout out to everyone listening again. We're nothing without the listeners here on Locked On Canucks. We love each and every one of you, your families, and your dogs too. Enjoy the sunny Sunday. We're going to be back at you on Monday with some LA Kings, Vancouver Canucks talk. That's a big game, okay? A potential playoff matchup, okay? Let's talk about how these two teams match up and lots more ahead as the Canucks, continue the road to the Stanley Cup playoffs. And hey, who knows? It might even be the best team in the Western Conference when we get there. Okay, but more on that on another episode of Locked On Canucks. Remember, it's your team every day. Like us, subscribe to us wherever you listen to podcasts. We love each and every one of you. But we got to get out of here, okay? Enjoy the weekend. For now, I'm Trevor Beggs. That guy's Kyle Bowen. And you've been listening again to Locked On Canucks.
Shout out to that strong D, okay? Shout out to that strong D that's coming up.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your